Hello there and a very good evening and welcome. This is Primetime News here on TV1. Today is the 21st of August 2023. For the News First team, I am Jayamal Ratnayaka.
And I'm Arundhati Mudanayaka. As always, let's start off with a look at the stories making headlines this evening.
President in Singapore engages in discussions with Singaporean counterpart and Minister of Defence. Heat index advisory issued for North, North Central, Eastern and Ua provinces and the Hambantota district. Farmlands likely to face further destruction. Did the crisis intensify due to poor water management? Farmers of Walava threatened, sparking protests for the arrest of intimidators. Professionals take stern decision over inaction to address their demands.
කාපට් අසර දාලා මේ ප්‍රශ්නේ වහලා දාන්න ඒකට මේ රටේ වෘත්තීය වේදීන් ඉඩ දෙන්නේ නැහැයි කියන පණිවිඩය දෙන්න ඕනයි කියන එක අද දවසේ අපි වෘත්තීය වේදීන්ගේ වෘත්ති සමිතිය එකමුතුව විදිහට අපි තීරණය කළා.
New unit introduced to curb illegal migration through visit visas.
And now the stories in detail. President Rajapakse, who is in Singapore on a two-day official visit, met with Singaporean President Halima Yaakob this morning.
President Ranil Wickremesinghe, who arrived at the Istana in Singapore, was afforded a warm welcome by his Singaporean counterpart. The President's media division said that the attention of the two leaders focused on the strong continuation of the long-standing bilateral relations between Singapore and Sri Lanka. Discussions had also been held regarding developing cooperation in the future in the fields of food security and renewable energy. Meanwhile, President Ranil Wickremesinghe also met Singapore's Defence Minister Dr. N. Eng Hen. The President's media division stated that geopolitical developments and the importance of regional stability for small maritime countries were discussed. Meanwhile, Minister for Sustainability and the Environment of Singapore, Grace Fu Hai Yen, has also met with President Ranil Wickremesinghe. The President is also scheduled to sign a Memorandum of Understanding on carbon emissions during the visit. The President's Chief of Staff, Sagala Ratnayaka, Senior Advisor to the President on Climate Change, Ruwan Wijewardena, and Senior Advisor to the President on Economic Affairs, Dr. R.H.S. Samaratunga, are accompanying President Wickremesinghe on the visit.
Protocol, who you will be meeting very soon.
Yes, sir.
Positive outcomes for that COP28.
Taking a look at another story that made it onto your headlines for tonight. A heat advisory has been issued for the northern, north central, eastern and Ua provinces as well as the Hambantota district.
The Department of Meteorology says that the heat index or the temperature felt on human body is expected to increase up to caution level. The advisory states that the heat index in those areas is between 39 and 45 degrees Celsius. People working in farmlands should stay hydrated and take breaks in the shade as often as possible. The Met Department warns that more attention should be paid to the elderly and sick people at home and that small children should not be unattended in vehicles. The department adds that people who spend a lot of time outdoors should limit strenuous outdoor activities, find shade and stay hydrated.
Now, Jayamal, as you know, spells of dry weather are a natural occurrence in Sri Lanka and it happens every year. But why do you think we were unable to manage it this time around?
Certainly, Arundhati, because spells, like you said, of dry weather are a natural occurrence in Sri Lanka. However, Sri Lanka not managing to receive enough rainfall has given rise to a major crisis at present. And against this backdrop, News First did a special report to look into what actually happened.
Agriculture in Sri Lanka mainly includes two seasons. The Yala and Maha cultivating seasons commence, taking into account monsoonal rain. Rainfall from the northeast monsoon is used to nourish agricultural lands during the Maha season, while cultivating for the Yala season is done during the southwest monsoon. Southwest monsoonal rains are generally received from May to September, and the western slopes of the Central Hills can expect more rain during this time. Although this is the expected weather condition, weather patterns do not follow standard forecasts at certain times. Due to this, prior to the start of a cultivation season, all institutions related to water use, including the Mahaveli Authority, Irrigation Department, Electricity Board and Meteorological Department, reach preliminary conclusions based on the data they possess. Farmers are advised to cultivate according to the recommendations of these authorities. What happened this Yala season? The Water Management Committee meeting for the current Yala season was held on the 23rd of March under the chairmanship of Minister of Irrigation Roshan Ranasinghe. During this meeting, the Natural Resources Management Centre of the Department of Agriculture had clearly indicated that there could be a decrease in rainfall. According to the facts revealed during the investigation carried out by News First, the software called Vista, which is owned by the National Water Management Secretariat, has also provided a prediction regarding a possible dry weather spell. The Department of Meteorology stated that in April, it had pointed out that rainfall will decrease in the Central Hills.
We usually have a discussion before the start of the monsoon and bring together all the agencies that work with water and inform them what the next monsoon will be like. During this year's discussion, we announced in April that this time the southwest monsoon will be a little more than usual. However, the Central Hills will receive lesser rain this time. The El Nino condition and other conditions in the Indian Ocean would result in the reduction of rainfall. And we pointed this out in the discussion held in April.
However, regardless of these preconceived notions, a decision had been made during the Mahaveli Water Management Committee meeting to provide water until the end of the Yala season. On the 10th of July, the Mahaveli Authority promised to release water to the farmers despite this dry weather.
I can assure you that the situation in 2003 was much more worse than this. Now there is no such issue. We only have to manage this matter. We need to provide water for another 50 days. The water of the reservoir would finish by the 1st or 2nd of September. We will receive rain at least once by then. Even if there is no rainfall, I told you that we have to provide water for only 50 more days. Kotmale has about 120 acre feet. Let's remove 25 from that. Let's divide 100 by 50. That will be 2. The maximum amount we can provide from the Bulletin is 2.45 or 2.5. That means if we divert the entire Kotmale reservoir for this purpose, that will be sufficient. We are confident that with your help, we can solve this issue, but manage this for us properly.
What happened to the water in the Mahaveli River? Water from reservoirs including Kotmale filled by the rainfall to the Central Hills is released to the Polgola reservoir, and from there the water can be diverted in 2 directions. Water can be supplied to the Mahaveli farmlands through Bovathanna in Ukuwela towards Anuradhapura, where farming is of major importance. The amount of electricity that can be generated from the power plants on that route is only 88 megawatts. However, if the water from Polgola is released to the Victoria Reservoir, it has the potential to produce 380 megawatts. Senior officials of the Mahaveli Authority stated that more than 57 million cubic meters of water was wasted due to the release of water to the Victoria Reservoir for electricity generation. This is due to the overflow of water diverted from Victoria Reservoir and Randanigala Reservoir to the Maduru Oya Reservoir and Ulhitia for power generation. Senior officials of the Mahaveli Authority say that if the water was released to the Kalavavar, agricultural lands in the Mahaveli H zone would not be in crisis. If so, did the crisis arise because power generation was prioritized over providing water for cultivations? Did the officials of the Mahaveli Authority make repeated promises to the farmers without being aware of this situation? Although dry weather is a natural condition, whose decisions led to this crisis emerging prematurely? The H zone is the largest contributor of harvests to the country from the entire Mahaveli project. The Mahaveli H zone comprises Tamputtegama, Talava, Eppavala, Nochchiyagama, Maha Iluppallama, Galneva and Megalava. Agricultural lands in this area are nourished through the Kalavavar. Taking into account the promise of officials, farmers in the Mahaveli zone cultivated 62,500 acres of paddy fields. But these fields have been dealt a deadly blow after the water released from the Kothmale reservoir to the Kalaweva was limited. The Water Secretary's office of Kalaweva points out that the level of water in Kalaweva has dropped to 21,000 acre feet.
On the
10th of July, the Director of Water Management assured that there is sufficient water in Kothmale and that it will be provided to us to cultivate. But that assurance has wavered from time to time. They claim 2,000 acre feet can be provided to the Kalaweva daily, but today only 600 acre feet has been released. 934 is released from the left canal. How can the deficit be fulfilled? People in the H zone make very rational demands. They are not aggressive, so do not force the people onto the streets and provide the required water.
These farmers require water to be released in 3 more instances in order to save their paddy lands. Therefore, water between 12,000 and 14,000 acre feet must be released per instance from the Kalaweva. Releasing water from the left bank of the Mahaveli zone has already commenced, and it is being released at an intensity of 1,800 acre feet. However, farmers claim that quantity of water is severely insufficient.
Do not
toy with the farmers. The lives of farmers were already in grave danger. They cultivated the yellow season amid many difficulties. Despite the challenges, they cultivated 25,000 hectares. Do not burden them any further and destroy their lives. We want the political authority to know that they should not prepare to change their words to secure their political future. More than 100,000 acres of fields in Balava are already in ruins. Who will be responsible if our 25,000 acres are destroyed? Do not blame natural causes for it. This is not the farmers' fault. These are the shortcomings of the decision makers in this country. Our minister says various things every now and then. Once he said he did not inform the Department of Meteorology. Then he says 50,000 to 100,000 acres will be destroyed. Is the H zone going to face a similar fate?
Agrarian communities in the Mahaveli zone have no alternative but to seek divine intervention. They converged at the Kadavara Devalaya in Kalaweva this morning. The dry weather conditions have only commenced. If the forecasts of the Department of Meteorology are anything to go by, how severe will this situation become if sufficient rainfall is not experienced till the end of October? Shouldn't authorities act, at least now, to efficiently manage the water that is left?
What you just witnessed was farmers of the Mahaveli zone being deprived of sufficient water to nourish their fields. However, farmers of Walava were the first to be battered by the shortage of water for their farmlands.
Authorities restricted the flow of water from the Samanala to the Udawalava reservoir, claiming that water was required to generate electricity for the south.
Although the distribution of water recommenced following severe opposition over the decision, it was too late to save some farmlands from destruction.
Now, plans are afoot to purchase power from the private sector, while farming communities are lamenting over the devastation caused to their fields.
The Mayurapura Agrarian Union of the Walava region gathered opposite the Ministry of Mahaveli Development in Hambantota today. They pointed out that while the fields have been destroyed, the farmers' leaders are being assaulted by thugs. The farmers protested, demanding for the attackers to be arrested. The farmers' representatives who engaged in the protest also submitted a letter inclusive of their demands to the Mahaveli divisional manager.
We never at any point asked for anything unfair. Now we are facing relentless attacks.
දිගට හරටක් ගන්න. මේ අපිට පේන්නේ රාජ්‍ය මැදිහත්වීම තුලින් ගොවි වර්ධනය කරන්නේ නැහැ. රාජ්‍ය මැදිහම මොකද? බුද්ධි අංශ තියෙනවා, පොලිසිය තියෙනවා, ඔක්කොම තියෙනවා. නිලධාරියෝ ඔක්කොම ටික එකතු වෙලා
Now there is a suspicion that the police are also involved in these attacks. After the attack, they ask us if we know our attackers. If we know who our attackers are, we would have taken direct action regarding it. When we are planning an Aragale, he gets the information in just 2-3 days. Why isn't he getting the information about this? Are they just suppressing this?
Later, the farmers protested opposite the Hambantota Harbour police.
Farmers are protesting to save the reserves in the area. Do not destroy the elephant management reserves established for the elephants in the area. Do not misuse the water of the Valava left bank. That is why we are protesting. They are representing the farmers in order to silence these protests. So we have to come to deliver a message to the police officers to enforce the law and arrest these thugs. The past leaders got it wrong when they went against farmers. They are heading for the same situation this time as well. If this happens again, you will face repercussions.
The officer in charge of the Hambantota Harbour Police also arrived at the location where the protest took place, and the group handed over a letter to the OIC.
Now we bring to your attention some more villages that have been affected by the dry weather conditions.
The Min area Ratmale village in the Polonnaru Hinguragoda Divisional Secretariat is currently facing a drinking water problem. The 1,000 families living in this village rely on the Ratmale Vavar to fulfill their water requirements. But the Vavar, which has a water capacity of 1,200 acre-feet, is drying up rapidly.
If the water level of the Vavar is reducing, it means that the water levels in the wells are drying up. If the Vavar continues to dry up, then it will result in the fish drying up as well. What is left of the water is also gone and the wells will be dry. We ask authorities to please bring their attention to this and cut a canal from the Min area.
About 106 families reside in the Badivava village in Moragoda, Kakirava in Anuradhapura. They are suffering a drinking water crisis due to the dry weather, as all the springs in the area have dried up. They have requested the authorities to implement a system that provides them the water they need.
If we get water from the street lines, a litre is 3 rupees. If we purchase 1,000 litres for household consumption, that will be 3,000 rupees. It is difficult for us to bear these expenses. If this keeps up, the villagers will die due to the lack of water to drink.
Villagers of the Pallamanagavilla area in Putlam are also facing a drinking water crisis. They point out that even though water was distributed in a bowser, it was not sufficient for daily consumption.
36 acres of paddy fields are nourished by our Nagavilla Vavar. All of these fields are being destroyed. Then when we consider fields in the surrounding area, I think more than 200 acres are destroyed in this area. Now there is no rain. The fields haven't matured. There is no water to nurture these fields. There is no way to retrieve our gold jewelry that we have pawned.
On the one hand, dry weather has affected farmlands across the country. On the other hand, there are several debates on the weakness of water management. This includes the complaints of the farmers. Meanwhile, the Minister of Agriculture stated today that a sufficient stock of rice has been produced in the country.
We were concerned that there will be a shortage in the country and that it will have to be imported. Another question was that if that kind of situation arose, from which country would we import rice? This is because India also halted the exportation of rice. When India stops exporting rice, the other countries will charge 2 to 3 times more. That was a major challenge that was being discussed in the recent past. But thanks to the farmers of this country, there is no more need to import rice. They have harvested enough paddy to solve this issue. I can proudly say that due to the surplus of the the previous Maha season and the tireless work of the farmers this Yala season, there is a sufficient stock of rice produced within the country.
2 inmates of the Gaol prison have passed away due to an unknown disease that is spreading around the prison.
Prison media spokesman Commissioner Chandana Ekanaika said that another 3 sick inmates have been hospitalized. The media spokesman said that a team of experts at the Karapiti Teaching Hospital is currently conducting tests to identify the spreading disease. He also stated that it has become mandatory for everyone, including the inmates, to wear face masks. Meanwhile, Sudesh Nandimal Silva, the General Secretary of the Committee of Protecting Rights of Prisoners, also commented on the disease that is spreading in the Gaol prison.
According to our information, we have found that the communicable disease that infected the inmates was brought by foreigners. If this has become an epidemic, we must find the main reason for this. If the prison officials are infected with this disease, there is a higher risk that the citizens of the whole country could be affected. This is a very dangerous situation.
News first with the people.
The Professionals Trade Union Collective has decided to launch a protest against the unfair tax structures and the lack of action taken to rectify the concerns of professionals. The Government Medical Officers Association, Federation of University Teachers Associations, Association of Medical Faculty Teachers and Bank of Ceylon Employees Union, along with the Professionals Trade Union Collective, held a press conference in Colombo earlier today.
We have proposed reforms regarding these tax structures. As the Professionals Trade Union Collective, we submitted our reforms in a summarized but comprehensive manner. We formally submitted a proposal regarding all these matters in an effective manner. We have discussed with the IMF headquarters as well, but until today, this government has failed to honor the promises it has made to the people. If the government still believes in the patience or the professionalism shown by the professionals, then we as the Professional Trade Union Collective would like to say that we will not allow our problems to be brushed under the carpet without proper solutions. Also, by the time the IMF team arrives on the 14th of September, we will move our protest to its ultimate stage.
To another one of our headline-making stories, a special unit was created today at the departure terminal of the Bandaranaike International Airport to prevent individuals travelling abroad for work or migration using tourist visas.
The new unit was named the Safe Migration Promotional Unit. This new unit has been established on the recommendations of the National Task Force Against Human Trafficking under the Ministry of State Security. Officials of the Sri Lanka Bureau of Foreign Employment, the Department of Immigration and Emigration, the Criminal Investigation Department and the State Intelligence Service have been employed in this unit.
The Opposition Party Executive Council convened today under the chairmanship of opposition leader Sajid Premdasa and once again discussed the problems in the health sector.
The Executive Council of the Opposition convened today and discussed the health crisis against a backdrop of a no-confidence motion being brought against the Minister of Health. Several medical associations also participated in the discussion.
The current government, led by the Health Minister and the Health Secretary, is acting as a partner in a multinational conspiracy to deliberately destroy the health sector of this country. We should immediately stop this. We plan on posing the highest amount of resistance within the parliament. As a progressive modernist opposition, especially if we take the health sector, the whole government, led by the President and the Health Minister, should be responsible for the collapse of the health sector of this country. We are not at all ready to join hands with a government that leads to people to their deathbeds.
Representatives of civil organizations discussed the issues faced by the health sector with a group of independent parliamentarians. Members of Parliament Anuruddha Shaniyappa, Dr. Sudashini Fernando Pulle and Johnson Viratna were present at this meeting.
They got rid of the chairman of the SPC as promised, but even though the chairman of the SPC has resigned, there is no solution to the issues faced in the health sector. We are saying that the Secretary of Health, the Director of Health and Minister of Health should resign.
This situation is connected to the lives of the people of this country. The votes can be won or lost with a no confidence motion. That is not the important thing. Looking at these issues and finding the necessary solutions is the most important thing.
A press conference was held in Colombo earlier today to mark 52 months since the Easter Sunday attack. Here are some of the remarks expressed during this event.
There was one fact that was always highlighted in Parliament and during the investigative process. That is that there was a connection between Zaharan and the state intelligence authorities. Now we have heard it being talked about in Parliament for months, years ago, by parliamentarian Manujana Nayakkara. He at times told that former intelligence officer was a part of the transactions between Zaharan's team. Even though this accusation has been made several times, a question arises as to what were the measures taken to look into this matter. At this juncture, I would like to say very earnestly that the main reason why these investigations are stalled is that the activities against these officials or the activities that should be done are not taking place.
ක්‍රියාමාර්ග මොනවද කියන එකත් අද අපිට ලොකු ප්‍රශ්නයක් බවට පත් වෙලා තියෙනවා. මේ අවස්ථාවේදී තා ඕනෑකමින් කියන්නට කැමති මේ විමර්ශන කටයුතු ඇන හිටින්න ප්‍රධාන හේතුව මේ නිලධාරීන්ට විරුද්ධව ක්‍රියාකාරකම් නැත්නම් විය යුතු ක්‍රියාකාරකම් සිදු නොවන එකයි කියන එකයි අපිට කියන්න කැමති.
We ask why he is being protected and is being given extended service.
රකින්න තරමට මොකද්ද කරන්නේ?
We will know that there is a Rajapakse arm behind all this. The scapegoat of all this will ultimately be Ranil Wickremesinghe. The spirit of 273 victims continues to live among their loved ones. No one will be able to escape the curses of more than 500 innocent people.
273කගේ ලේ මේ පොළොව මත තාම ජීවත් වෙන 500කට අධික මිනිස්සු හෙලන සුසුම් ඒ මිනිස්සුන්ගේ මුවෙන් නික්මන සාප වලින් ඔය කාටවත් ගැලවෙන්න පුළුවන් කමක් හම්බෙන්නේ නැහැ.
The Indian government has taken steps to provide a kilo of onion at a subsidized price of 25 Indian rupees to its citizens starting today.
This program will commence from New Delhi and then will be implemented across India. India provides this relief to its consumers, which is after increasing the export tax on big onions to 40% with immediate effect. Meanwhile, traders in Sri Lanka have taken steps to suddenly increase the price of onions even before 24 hours have passed after India raised the export tax.
The second leg of the LOLC Divi program got underway today, centering the Kurunegala district.
LOLC Divi distributes necessary school books and stationery items to the school students of Sri Lanka. This worthy initiative is a collaboration between the LOLC group and the Ministry of Education. The LOLC Divi program took place today, centering the Kurunegala Education Zone and Ibagamu Education Zone of the Kurunegala district. The LOLC Divi program distributed school books and stationery items to the students of Ibagamuwa, Thalangamuwa Kanishta Vidyalaya, Godarathmale Primary School, Rankirimada Primary School and Vevalagama Primary School. The Divi team also distributed school books and stationery items to students of Potuhara, Handugala Primary School, Sri Sonathara Primary School, Pulgahavela Tamil Vidyalaya and Potuhara Muslim School of the Kurunegala Education Zone. The objective of the LOLC Divi program is to support the Sri Lankan student population to achieve their future goals.
Moving on to news overseas, Tropical Storm Hillary inundated streets across Mexico's arid Baja California peninsula with deadly floodwaters on Sunday before moving over southern California, where it swarmed roads and downed trees as concerns mounted that flash floods could strike in places as far as north as Idaho.
Forecasters say Hillary was the first tropical storm to hit Southern California in 84 years, bringing floods, mudslides, high winds, power outages and the potential for isolated tornadoes, and threatened more than an average year's worth of rain in inland desert areas. Hillary made landfall along the Mexican coast in a sparsely populated area about 150 miles south of Ensenada on Sunday, then moved through mudslide-prone Tijuana, threatening the improvised homes that cling to hillsides just south of the US border. By Sunday evening, the storm had moved over San Diego and was headed north into inland desert areas. As evening fell in California, the National Weather Service in Los Angeles warned of significant flooding risk throughout populous mountain areas northeast of Los Angeles.
Russia's unmanned Luna 25 mission ended in disaster when the spacecraft crashed into the moon, clearing the way for India's Chandrayaan-3, also unmanned, to become the first to explore the moon's south pole when it attempts to land on Wednesday, the 23rd.
The pilotless spacecraft was aiming to be the first ever to land on the south pole of the moon, an area where scientists believe there could be important reserves of frozen water and precious elements. It had been expected to land on Monday. The agency said that the apparatus moved into an unpredictable orbit and ceased to exist as a result of a collision with the surface of the moon. The Luna 25 was in race with an Indian spacecraft launched on the 14th of July to be the first to reach the south pole. Both were expected to reach the moon between the 21st of August and 23rd. The lunar south pole is of particular interest to scientists who believe the permanently shadowed polar craters may contain frozen water in the rocks that future explorers could transform into air and rocket fuel. India is hoping to become the fourth nation to land on the moon, with Chandrayaan-3 scheduled to touch down on Wednesday evening. Behind the United States, Russia and China, the only manned missions were by the United States of America, the last being in 1972. Chandrayaan took off on the 14th of July and has been in orbit around the moon for several days. Luna 25, which lifted off on the 10th of August, took a more direct route and was expected to land on Monday the 21st. Roscosmos said it wanted to show Russia is a state capable of delivering a payload to the moon and ensure Russia's guaranteed access to the moon's surface. Sanctions imposed on Russia since it began its actions in Ukraine have affected its space program, making it more difficult to access Western technology. The Luna 25 was initially meant to carry a small moon rover, but that idea was abandoned to reduce the weight of the craft for improved reliability.
Lucy Letby, the British nurse convicted of killing 7 babies and attempting to murder 6 more, was sentenced to life in prison by a court in Manchester on Monday.
The horrifying case has riveted attention in the United Kingdom and around the world in recent months, and she was found guilty by the Manchester Crown Court last Friday. The whole life order means she will never be eligible for parole. Letby attacked the babies in her care by administering air into their blood and stomachs, overfeeding them with milk, physically assaulting them and poisoning them with insulin. The case saw the United Kingdom's National Health Service draw much criticism, as some doctors had warned that the first few deaths were suspicious, but hospital authorities did not bother to thoroughly investigate, and Letby was able to murder several more. Letby worked at the neonatal ward at the Countess of Chester Hospital between 2015 and 2016.
Finally, in sports news, Beloved Candy were crowned the winners of Lanka Premier League 2023 last night after they defeated Dambulla Aura by 5 wickets in the final. The final, held at the R. Premadasa Stadium in Colombo, drew thousands of fans. President Ranil Wickremesinghe, who was also present at the final, engaged in a casual chat with several former overseas players and officials. Minister Harin Fernando, President's advisor on national security Sagala Ratnayaka, were also among those who were present, accompanying the President. Dambulla Aura, who batted first, set a score of 147 runs for the loss of 4 wickets at the end of their allotted 20 overs. Chasing a target of 148 for victory, Beloved Candy reached the target in 19.5 overs, with Kamidu Mendis leading the charge with 44 runs. This is incidentally Beloved Candy's first LPL title, breaking the Jaffna Kings winning streak of 3 consecutive LPL titles.
But talk about this was replaced. Make a decision. Just don't need 4s and 6s. Yeah. He's done it. almost there. That's it.
And with that, we wrap up tonight's edition of Primetime News. Thank you very much for joining us.
Take care and good night.